Hello everybody, my name is Kendra. Today I'm going to be talking about a variety of different commercial sock yarns. Now I really like knitting socks, and I must say before we get started, I love knitting with hand-dyed yarn. This is not to knock it or anything. I like dyeing it, I like knitting with it, I sell it. It's definitely a great thing, and it's long lasting, everything's great, but it is a little bit more pricey. So I understand there's a lot of reasons why you may be looking for a commercial yarn, whether it's budget or durability or whatever the case may be. And so a few years ago, I did a little comparison of a few different popular types of commercial sock yarns. And since that time, there's been a number of new yarns that have come out, and I personally really like trying them and seeing what I think of some of these different yarns. Now, I will say also before we get started that I am obviously just one person. Your experience, your opinion may be different, and that's totally fine. I'm also pretty hard on my socks. I knit them and I darn them when they get holes, and then I give up on them and start replacing them. It's kind of been my record so far. I don't know exactly what it is, but I wear them every day. I wash them in the washing machine once a week, and yeah, they get worn fairly hard, I would say, and definitely I see holes. So I'm gonna keep that in mind and point it out on which ones I think are worse for that or which ones are better. So if you want to go check out that other video, they're almost all different yarns, but one long-standing favorite is going to make an appearance in this video as well. And that one is Patons Kroy. Now, I would say this is a classic. This yarn has been around for a long time. It's readily available. It comes in a variety of different colors. It comes in a 50-gram ball, and they have a couple different lines. The main line, they've got some stripes, and then they also have the color effects line. So two of the ones I have here to show you, I have the striping line. I think it's their main line, but it comes in stripes. And you can tell on the label whether it is going to be a striping yarn or not. I personally choose to buy my Patons Kroy at Michael's, where I usually buy one 50-gram ball and then I use like the 40% off coupon on it. So it is a pretty reasonably priced pair of socks. Now, because it is 50 grams, I do like to stretch it. So for a leg this length, I did add in the contrasting toes, heels, and cuffs. I don't always do that, but it definitely gives a longer leg. I mean, obviously you can buy 2 balls of yarn and that works just fine too. But if you are trying to make it out of 1 ball, adding that contrast color is great. And the contrast is another one of the Patons Kroy yarns, just the solid gray color. Now, with their color effects, I have heard it said, and definitely found it to be true, that it doesn't go as far. I'm not sure, I'll have to check the yardage, whether it's listed differently, but I've seen other people comment on that it just makes a shorter sock. Now, this one has the same toe and heel, and I didn't add the contrast cuff, but it is quite a bit shorter. And so that's just something to keep in mind. I think if I were to use this again, I would add on, I would purchase 2 balls, I think, if that is true, that it is throughout the color effects line, that there is shorter yardage in it. That may also be because it does feel a little bit thicker, and so even if the weight is the same, it doesn't go quite as far. Now, I would say Patons Kroy is a classic, and it is more of a rustic feel than some of the other ones. Some of the colors are quite woolly feeling. I feel like they are pretty durable, one of the more durable of the ones that I'm showing here. But again, I get holes in them. It's not like they're bulletproof or anything, but I've been happy with all the Patons Kroy yarns that I have chosen, although they do vary in thickness depending on the color. Again, something to keep in mind when you're knitting with them or checking with them at the store. They do vary, and some of them are more like a sport weight, I would say, even though they are all listed as like the #1 fine yarn. So next up is the Loops and Threads Perfect Pair. Now, this one has been out for a year or 2 now, and this is actually a bamboo acrylic blend. It is a much softer feeling sock than the Patons Kroy. It has that smooth feeling like you might expect from bamboo, and they also come in lots of self-striping colors and other repeating colorways. I feel like the Loops and Thread, again, it makes a really nice soft sock. However, it is a little bit less durable in my opinion. This one is fine, but the second sock that I knit already has a hole, and I have not worn these nearly as much as some of the other pairs. And I also feel like they have a little bit less of the spring back. Like with these yarns, once it stretches out, it stays stretched out, whereas with the wool, it does slowly start stretching out as you wear it, but it comes back together a little more. I think something like this would be perfect for like house socks, something where, like, again, I just want to like feel it because it's smooth and silky feeling, even though, yeah, for my socks, I do prefer something that's a little bit woolier and more durable. Next up is Lion brand ManiPedi. Now, in the last video, I did talk about Lion brand sockies, and I do still like that yarn, but this is the ManiPedi line where they have a number of colors, also in the 50-gram balls, and this is how far the 50-gram ball got me as a pair of shorty socks, this short, for a size 9 women's foot. I really like the color variation in these. You can tell that there's this gradual color shift that goes and it changes throughout the ball. This is another one that I would, you know, if I was making more socks with it, I would choose to purchase 2 balls instead of just the one, because this is a pretty small sock. And so that 100 grams is really needed in this color here. Not to mention the way that the colors shift, they would be more of a matching pair, whereas they definitely complement each other rather than match when using one ball. These are a 75% wool, 25% nylon blend, which is the same as the Patons Kroy. They are both have that more woolly feel. They are not as soft as like a 75-25 merino nylon blend, like a hand-dyed yarn. But as far as the wool nylon goes, it's just a good all-around durable sock. I don't really have much for complaints with this. It was pretty straightforward. Again, similar to a Patons Kroy, not as many colors available, but just another pretty good option in my opinion. Next up is Knit Picks Stroll. Now, if you've been here before, Knit Picks is one of my favorite lines because they have so many affordable yarn options. And Stroll is one that I have used a number of times in the past, but for garments, not for socks. And I think at one point in a video, I had even said, I don't know how it would be for socks because it is so smooth feeling. And I always just felt like maybe it would not be as durable. So after I made a sweater with it, I had a little bit left over and I dyed it up into this here. Now, Stroll only comes in solid colors. They do have their Felici line, which is separate, which is striped colors. And I've heard that the yarns are pretty similar. However, this is strictly the Stroll, which comes in solid colors. But again, this one was dyed, but I thought I would talk a little bit about the wear and things like that anyways. Now, Stroll is a 75% merino, 25% nylon. It is softer than the wool nylon blends, but I am honestly really happily surprised at how well it has held up. This has been in heavy rotation since January or February, and no signs of wear, no like thinning spots. Sometimes I start to see stitches that start thinning, especially on the ball of the foot right in here, but this sock looks pretty much exactly the same. There is some fuzzing throughout the foot, which I don't really penalize it for because that is just what happens in softer wools. And I mean, if it really bothered me, I could shave it, but I don't worry about that with my socks. It's not as bad as like a cashmere merino nylon where it immediately got fuzzy, but it's a nice middle ground and definitely one I would choose again. Again, maybe a drawback being that they only come in the solid colors, but if you do any dyeing, that's a wonderful option. The last yarn I'm going to discuss in this video is the Estelle Sock Twins. I knit a pair of this out of this yarn fairly recently. I got this at a knitting store and they come in 2 wound cakes that are supposed to be perfectly matched. There are a number of colors and I really liked the colors. The one I chose was black and this burgundy pink color, and it shows these subtle variations. It definitely has more of a unique or hand-dyed look to it because it is a little bit marled as the color is shifting. And quite honestly, I had mixed opinions on this, and that's mostly because as I started knitting with it, the yarn had these sections where one ply was like pulled like crazy and I had to cut the yarn and rejoin it, and that kind of messes up the perfect pairing that they're showing. I don't know if this was just a one-off. I have not used the yarn since then, but definitely an issue I had, especially as I first got going in the black. It had, just the one cake had a lot of issues with the yarn where it was unusable. As far as the feel of the sock, it is on the woolier side. probably woolier than the ManiPedi and some of the Kroy colors. It's not scratchy to me. I am not really bothered by a lot of wools, but I wouldn't say it's scratchy, but it has that wool feel to it. It's not a smooth, soft wool by any means. It is 250-gram cakes, so you do get the 100 grams when you're purchasing it, which does allow for a variety of sizes. So I'm gonna rank this one in the middle since, again, experience with the yarn wasn't great, but the sock's been fine, holding up fine, pretty similar to these other ones that I have mentioned. Now, there are several non-wool options at Michael's or at the craft store where you can purchase different yarns that don't have any wool content, and I did go over some of those in that last video, but I know that I personally do prefer wool. So aside from the Perfect Pair loops and thread yarn, the rest of these are the wool yarns that I could find to purchase locally that I could then make myself some socks out of. So all in all, I think knitting is for everyone, no matter what the budget. There are a lot of great options out there. You really can't go wrong with some of these, that if you want a good quality sock and you're not bothered by the feeling of wool, I think that several of these would be a great option and a great way to fill up your sock drawer and get knitting and wearing your knitting. Please let me know if you've tried any of these. Let me know in the comments, and I would love to hear from you. It's so valuable to have others' opinions and other people who have done more knitting than I have weigh in. So whatever your experience, I'd love to hear your opinion of these sock yarns, or if you have a favorite that I haven't tried yet, leave it in the comments and maybe it will be included in the next one. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!